Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be taking our first look at Gold Mythic Magna, a new beginning, who is going to be a brand new character coming to the RTS on the advanced token wheel. Now visually we have seen Magna in the game plenty of times before. This might be one of the first fast Magnas that I can remember, but she looks pretty cool on the right hand side. I did kind of tease this character a few weeks ago in my June character list, and we did kind of know she was going to be a leader. There was some skills that were going to be teased in that as well, and that she was going to be part of a brand new allegiance. And we already know what that allegiance is pretty much, because on the left hand side you can see her art, and in the background we do have Yumiko, who is the Warrior Champions fighter, and Yumiko is part of that brand new allegiance too, and it is the Armory. But Magna is going to be the defense leader for that group, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how she shapes up to work with Yumiko and other characters. We'll check out her kit at level 1600, limit break 3. She has got 12,094 attack, 37,214 defense, and 43,727 HP. She is a fast character. She's going to be at the control role, Gold Mythic of course, and she is going to be joining, like I said, the brand new allegiance, the Armory, as the defense leader. Now the first thing we're going to be taking a look at is going to be the Adrenaline Rush, and it is called Pair Bonded. It is a 55 AP cost rush. This fighter and Yumiko, a new beginning, get defense down block for the rest of combat, 50% bonus HP and heal for 50% of their max HP, remove Halo from 2 random enemies, deal 4% of all living teammates max HP, plus 4% for each other Armory Allegiance teammate, as damage to a single enemy. So this is actually kind of interesting. If we ignore the fact that Yumiko can beat in this, it's just quite a nice boost just for Magna. But if you have got Yumiko in the same team, Yumiko will get buffed out quite heavily as well. Lots of survivability, and also not being able to get defense down is quite nice. Removing Halo is okay. On a defense team that's not as important. Attack teams don't generally run with Halo too much, although there are some characters that do provide Halo, so it can be decent there. It isn't in abundance, but I guess the limited amount that would be there on an attack team, it would be getting removed. The 4% of the living teammates max HP doesn't sound like a lot, but let's say someone has 100,000 HP, and then they've got a whole team of people who have got a high 100,000 HP. That's 500,000, and then 4% of that would be 20,000 damage. This is just pure damage, so defense would not negate anything here. And this is just if you only had 500,000. There are characters that can have 180,000 HP. Characters like Roland, I'm pretty sure I've seen with like 300,000 HP. So it's definitely easier to get over 500,000 as a full team. And it's the max HP, not current HP, but it is of the living teammates. Now if she is teamed up with Yumiko, that suddenly becomes 8%, and it's obviously going to be much more damage. If there are other Armory teammates in the team, obviously for each one it could potentially be up to 20% of the max HP of the living teammates as damage to a single target. And if it is going to be a full Armory defense team, it would be a massive amount of damage there. I'll test this with Yumiko just to show you that Yumiko does get these buffs as well. Okay, so we are on the attack team, and I am going to use the Adrenaline Rush of Magna here. I'm going to use it against a character where we're not going to be able to take them out, because this is primarily going to be good against attack team characters who are going to have lower HP. It's pretty much as simple as that. We are in a team, and this team has around about 400,000 total HP, and we have got Yumiko on the team, so this should hit for 8% of that 400,000 total HP, so around about 32,000, something like that. We'll do the Adrenaline Rush against Nor at the top, and we should hit for around about 30 to 32.5. This is going to be very consistent, so you can kind of try and gauge how much HP this is going to do based on the overall HP of your team. The heavier HP characters like Nor, Peacekeeper, Roland, these sort of characters that have boosted HP are going to affect the overall HP much better, of course. And obviously if your team's modded, upgraded weapons, so on and so forth, like this team does not. We also have 2 attack team characters on here as well. Now if you look at the buffs, you can see both Magna and Yumiko both have some nice little buffs. They got some bonus HP. They would have got healed if they needed to, and we would have removed Halo from the enemies if they had any. Now, going over the upgrades on the Adrenaline Rush, you can see at grade 2 it gets an upgrade where this fighter and Yumiko, a new beginning, get 50% bonus HP and heal for 50% of their max HP. At grade 4, the AP cost gets reduced to 55, so it goes from a 66 AP cost rush down to a 55 AP cost rush. Then at Limit Break 1, it gets an upgrade where it removes Halo from 2 random enemies. We didn't see that in the actual clip that I showed, but if there was any Halo on that team, we would obviously remove potentially up to 2 of the Halos. Then at Limit Break 3, upgrades where it does plus 4% damage for each other Armory Allegiance teammate. So initially it's just going to be 4% of all living teammates, and then that gets boosted up by another 4% for each Armory teammate, which would just be Yumiko for the time being, but we will no doubt get an Armory defense team in the future. And I would assume at least 4 other characters will come out, because Yumiko is not readily available because she's only going to be in War of Champions, and that will allow other people to get the characters with Magna to get a full Armory defense team otherwise. But that's how the Adrenaline Rush works. It does boost Yumiko as well, which is just a nice little touch. People who do go to War of Champions and get their hands on her will have maybe a little duo with these characters on a defense team, and that'll make Yumiko a little bit better than she was before, even if it is just a little bit of heavy survivability. Now, moving on to the signature move for Magna, it's called Major Protection. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 1 turn, number of uses unlimited. All Armory Allegiance teammates get focus for the rest of combat. This fighter and a teammate get Pain Split and 250% defense for 2 turns. A line of enemies gets minus 75% attack for 2 turns. So quite a lot going on here. All Armory Allegiance teammates getting focused for the rest of combat would always be Magna, but it potentially could be Yumiko plus other Armory characters. If you actually have any ideas who the other Armory characters could be, do let me know in the comments down below. This fighter and a teammate getting Pain Split for the rest of, well, not for the rest of combat, but basically when she does this, it'll be for the next turn, is sometimes not a good thing, but defense teams now are so tanky that it it's absolutely fine. Once upon a time, there was always a weak link on a defense team, and it would, if it paired up with the Pain Split, it could make your stronger character more vulnerable. But because of the 250% defense buff comes in anyway, this generally means that it's going to be reduced damage that's going to be taken, and obviously the Pain Split means the health is going to be shared between the 2 teammates that have got this buff. So like, let's say you do 100,000 damage, it would be reduced further because of the 250% defense, then it'll be split in half between the 2 characters. It just increases survivability, makes it a little bit annoying. And also, minus 75% attack down on top of that will obviously make your damage you can do with any of the characters that get hit by that way more reduced. So this is just, I think, increased survivability, and obviously the focus is this nice little cherry on top. So we start the fight, and it is pretty simple. Signature move just comes in, and as you can see, we have buffed myself, the Magna, and Yumiko with focus for the rest of combat, and then I have Pain Split with Clementine. And the reason it went to Clementine is because it will always Pain Split with the character with the highest HP, and this is obviously very beneficial if you had, let's say, a team with Nor on it. It would do a Pain Split with Nor. If you had a team with Peacekeeper, it would maybe do a Pain Split with Peacekeeper. And then effectively what could happen is, if you Pain Split with someone like Peacekeeper, is it would actually make Magna sort of like have Vengeance as a special skill, because if you rushed her, it would split the damage, and if it still did proc the Vengeance of Peacekeeper, then it would actually still proc Payback in Vengeance. So that would actually be kind of cool. So you can dictate who that highest HP character is going to be, and maybe get a little bit of bonus that way, potentially. And as you can see, the defense team in this case, or the attack team, is how Magna would normally be used. 2 characters have minus 75% attack. This is gross. They're not going to do much damage at all. And yeah, that's very problematic, especially against Magna, who has an extra 250% defense. And thinking about that pair up with a Vengeance character, it wouldn't necessarily have to be Peacekeeper. It could be the new Ezekiel. It could even be Princess. But what was an issue with Peacekeeper was his defense was quite low, but a 250% defense buff would bring it up pretty high. So that would actually be a quite nice little buff for him. Now, if we look at the upgrades on the signature move, you can see at grade 3 it gets an upgrade where this fighter and a teammate get pain split and 250% defense for 2 turns. And then at grade 5 it gets an upgrade where a line of enemies gets minus 75% attack for 2 turns. Then coming in Limit Break 2, it gets -1 to starting cooldown, so it goes from a turn 2 starting cooldown down to a turn 1 starting cooldown, which is kind of standard, just things starting right at the beginning of the fight. And you know, it's not too bad. If it's just Magna in the fight, focus for the rest of combat for Magna is absolutely fine. It's just a nice little self buff. But if you had a full team of Armory Allegiance characters with Magna, that would be a full team focus for the rest of combat. Obviously that can get stolen away, but you don't have too many characters that can obviously steal buffs from an entire team. And then obviously you could have things like Guardian Shields to protect that to a certain extent, you know, stop those ransacks from going off as easily. So there's definitely some ways you can actually make this be very nice for Magna and her teams, whether it just be Yumiko and Magna, but no doubt other characters, like I say, coming out in the future. The rest of her signature move is actually not too bad. I think it's just to slow things down a little bit, make it harder to heavy nuke a character. Characters who rely on like follow-ups and stuff, it's going to be much harder to guarantee that's going to happen against characters that have got pain split and massive amounts of defense. And obviously if you've got attack down, someone like the new Ruben, he really needs his attack to be like high, and he needs to hit hard. He needs guarantees, and this is going to be way, like barely any guarantees here for Ruben. Let's just ignore the 75% attack down here. 250% defense, pain split. Not many characters are going to one-shot someone in that, you know, scenario. You're going to have to steal away that buff. Then you're going to have to do even extra damage because of the pain split. And then, like I said, depending on who it splits with, you could be in trouble. Like if it pain splits with like Morgan, the character where when he gets taken out he revives people, then, you know, the Halo 2, that could be really good too. You know, there are definitely some nice ways you can dictate this. It goes to the person with the highest current HP, so just be aware. Can dictate this to a certain extent, but it's a decent signature move. It'll go off turn 1, bit of survivability, and maybe some kind of cheesiness with who you can decide who this can land on. Now, of course, Magna is going to be an advanced token wheel character, so we are going to be giving away some advanced tokens. 10,000 advanced tokens to 1 lucky winner, and all you have to do is type a comment down below and hit the like button, and you'll be entered into the giveaway. You can tell me who the other Armory characters are going to be. I'm not really sure about those characters within the storyline. It'd be kind of cool to know. If you can predict those characters, it'd be great. Or just tell me what you think about Magna as a character, or anything to do with RTS really. Just leave a comment down below and you are entered into the giveaway. Best of luck if you enter. Now back to the video. Now, checking out Magna's mythic abilities, these are her passive skills. She has got precision, where enemy resistances are going to be 40% lower against this fighter. She hasn't got too much in the way of targeted control at the moment, nothing too crazy, but anything that does land has a 40% higher rate to actually hit. The next one is called Sack of Tools. At the start of each turn, all Fast Trait and Armory Allegiance teammates can each either get 100% defense for 2 turns or heal for 50% of their max HP. So this is just basically going to be heavier survivability. I wonder if you could still heal if max HP. I will try and test that out, but that would be really good potentially if you had, let's say, an Armory character or a fast character who had overheal. So then they would definitely get a really nice boost and could potentially give bonus HP to everyone in the team if they did hit the overheal. That would actually be kind of cool. The next passive is called Normal Enemies. Start each wave and turn while this fighter is on the defense team. 60% chance 1 to 3 random enemies get normalized for 2 turns. This is honestly brutal because while it may not be 100% of the time, RNG on defense teams is one of the hardest things to deal with. You kind of breaks your rhythm of how you take down teams. If a character will randomly just do stuff, and this is at the start of each wave and turn, so you could start the fight with 3 of your characters normalized for 2 turns, and then the next turn they could get normalized again, and it's just complete RNG. You might not have any specialist skills on turn 2 on any of your specialists. Only your leader is going to be there with no, like, obviously they don't have a specialist already, so that could be really problematic. I'm talking like command, decap, these ones that kind of vital for attack teams. And this is kind of brutal, honestly. And it can happen like 3 or 4 times in a row, and they've completely been RNG'd. And then another time it can just not happen on the first turn, and it feels smooth. And you're like, oh, okay, Magna teams aren't so bad. And then again, the next time you fight, you just all of your characters are normalized. So you've got to try and figure out characters that are actually going to work, even if their specialist skill doesn't work. So it's kind of limited there. The next one is going to be called Special Privileges. When anyone dies while this fighter is on the defense team, 60% chance all teammates recover from normalize and get 100% normalized resistance for 2 turns. This is kind of brutal, especially the 100% normalized resistance. Recovering is just okay, but not being able to apply normalize again realistically is going to be quite difficult. And this is obviously going to occur as her teammates get taken out. And this is going to be whenever a character is taken out, she's going to do this. I think a really cool partnership with her could potentially be someone like Carl 2K, where Carl 2K will also revive people as people get taken out. So there's a lot of different things that can happen when characters are taken out, and that could just, like I say, a lot of spanner in the works, a lot of slowdown, a lot of RNG on a defense team. The team ups there could be really, really brutal. Okay, so here we are on an attack team, and as you can see, we have had the proc of the normalize occur, and it has hit 3 people. I think it can hit 1, 2, or 3, and the 3 it has hit are some of my more important specialists. I've got a follow-up, I've got a decap, and I've got a normalizer. These are quite important to be able to take down characters, get my extra damage. You know, these sort of things can be very problematic. If I take out a character, I would normally get a follow-up here with Sophia, but that's not going to occur. Now, when I take out this character, there is a chance that we are going to get some normalized resistances and stuff on other, teammates. Now, I have actually taken in lots of leaders here, so I'm only going to get on the one specialist, which is Lee, and that's just going to be the way it is, basically, when it comes to the actual normalized resistance. It only lands on people who have specialist skills. So if you take like 4 leaders in, you're not really taking advantage of this. And guess what? I took 4 leaders in, but I was taking characters that I could easily take out and just show you. Because say if I stole this away and I killed another character, same sort of thing would occur. And we took down 2. That's brilliant, but they're not decapped because I am normalized. And if I just go to the next turn or defend on these characters, I'll actually stop her thing from going off. There's potential that I get normalized again on someone else for another turn. It doesn't look like it's proc this time around. It's 60% chance, but I could theoretically get all 3 of those characters get normalized again for 2 turns. That level of RNG is like I said, kind of brutal to deal with. Now, if we check out the upgrades on her passives, you can see at grade 1, she's going to get the first half of Sack of Tools at the start of each turn. All Fast Trait, Tough Trait, and Armory Allegiance teammates can each either get 40% defense for 2 turns or heal 20% of their max HP. Then at grade 2, she gets the first half of Precision. Enemy resistances are 20% lower against this fighter. Then at grade 3, she gets the second half of Sack of Tools. At the start of each turn, all Fast Trait, Tough Trait, and Armory Allegiance teammates can each either get 60% defense for 2 turns or heal for 30% of their max HP. This obviously stacks with Stack of Tools 1, so it'll be 100% defense and 50% of their max HP as the potential things that can happen. It is either or, so it isn't like neither can happen. One of these is going to happen, but it could be defense, it could be a heal. Generally speaking, either is good for your survivability on a defense team, and it does just, again, that little bit of RNG that can be a bit frustrating to deal with, consistently having to attack a team. Now, as we look at grades 4 and 5, you can see we have normal enemies at grade 4, part 1, at the start of each wave and turn while this fighter is on the defense team. 20% chance 1 to 3 random enemies get normalized for 2 turns. And at grade 5, the first half of Special Privileges comes in. When anyone dies while this fighter is on the defense team, 20% chance all teammates recover from normalize and get 100% normalized resistance for 2 turns. Moving swiftly on to the limit breaks, you can see at limit break 1, Precision 2 is going to come in, making it 40% total lower resistance against this fighter. Then at limit break 2, we're going to have normal enemies 2 come in at the start of each wave and turn while this fighter is on the defense team. A further 40% chance 1 to 3 random enemies will get normalized resistance for 2 turns. This makes it 60% total. Do remember this is at the start of the wave and turn, so it will happen every time it goes to Magna's turn and when the fight starts. In Limit Break 3, the second half of special privileges come in. When anyone dies while this fighter is on the defense team, a further 40% chance all teammates recover from normalize and get 100% normalized resistance for 2 turns. This does make it 60% total that this is going to occur. So like I said, I think her passives are very nice. She's very much a support based character, and she isn't going to be a character that people kind of hard focus. Now of course Magna has a leader skill, and it reads all teammates get 45% HP and 40% defense. At the start of each wave, all fast trait and Armory allegiance teammates get 100% normalized resistance for 3 turns. So quite heavy stat boost here. 45% HP and 40% defense is quite good. And she also starts the fight by giving some teammates 100% normalized resistance before people start getting taken out. Obviously, if this wears out or they get stolen away, as her teammates start dropping, she can reapply the 100% normalized resistance from her passive. So lots of characters that can work with Magna here. Armory characters for sure, but someone like, let's say, Jesus 2K, who is a fast character, him having 100% normalized resistance would be problematic, especially if you team him up with someone like the new Ezekiel, who takes away counter damage reduction, and that would actually be pretty problematic in terms of being able to take out actual characters with vengeance on attack with no counter damage reduction. You would be able to rely on other things, but those other things can also have characters that can steal it away, like camouflage, so on and so forth. So it just potentially limits your options on what you can use when enemies are going to do certain things. Now lastly, we'll just check out the weapon, and there is no attached weapon, but she does have a weapon in her art, so we could potentially have a Magna's blade come to the game if it hasn't already. It might actually be out already, I'm not sure. I think the latest one is a Jesus blade. I can't really remember whose blade it is, but we could potentially see a Magna's blade come to the game. She's a fast character. We don't really see it. Whether it will work with her or not is anyone's guess. Sometimes they do work with the character, sometimes they just don't. It's just the way it goes. We'll have to wait and see when it comes to that weapon indeed. But when it comes to a weapon you could potentially use on her, she could use just an old school absolute defense fast healing. I think there was a new fast weapon that also had the defensive version of 1535 on it, 1515 on HP defense. This would boost the stats even further because she's the leader, and obviously it stacks with her leader skill, multiplies with it just like it does with 1535s on attack. So that could be a really good weapon for her as well. So this was just a little first look at Gold Mythic Magna, a new beginning, a new defense character coming to the game for the Armory Allegiance. She is going to team up with the War of Champions reward character, which is going to be Yumiko, but no doubt some other characters that you're probably telling me the names of in the comments down below right now, and I will be interested to see what those characters potentially could be. At least 4 more characters to come is my guess. We'll have to wait and see when it comes to the Armory Allegiance. Let me know your thoughts though down below on Magna. Best of luck if you do enter the giveaway. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.